Well, I'm sitting in the back of my van and I am the proud foster parent, I think you could call it, of a Hotbin. Now this is the Hotbin Composter, and this is actually my sister's, and she's had it for a while, can't get it to work. Now I'm one of those people that has to explore everything and really go in depth with anything that I do. So I've really been doing my research on this, and I think I can get it to work. Now I can see quite a few reasons why it hasn't been working so far. One of them being that's quite big. So there's been some big stuff put in this. So when you put stuff in a Hotbin, it all needs to be cut up really small. That looks quite a nice plant, actually, could be saved. So what this has got is the plinth. So it's got the plinth for it to sit on. I'm going to give it all a good clean before I set it all up. So there's the base, and that is an added extra. You pay extra for the base. Not 100% necessary, but it's nice to have. And this is the Hotbin 200, which means it holds 200 litres. The capacity is 200 litres. Now I'm really hoping that I can get this to work, and I'm very confident that I can, because I'm doing my vegetables this year. I'm growing veg, and it's the first time we've done it in this garden, and I've done everything really cheaply. The one thing that I couldn't do cheaply is the compost. I've spent a lot of money on compost, and I've put other things in the beds, in the bottom of the beds, and you know, I know how to do it all. I know how to layer it up and put leaves and different compost and soil and all that sort of stuff, but I still needed a lot of compost. So that's what I've been doing, building my beds up, buying compost, because I didn't have any compost made. I've only just started my compost bins this year. So I'm really hoping that this can be beneficial and make me a lot of compost. It's supposed to make compost within 30 to 90 days. So fingers crossed for that. Now what I'm going to do is take all this out, and I won't throw this away, this whatever, all the stuff that's in here, but I will reuse it. And things like this needs cutting up, at least in quarters, even smaller than that. I will be cutting it up even smaller than that. So there's quite a lot of big stuff in there, and it was very dry. It's not dry now because she did put water in it, unfortunately, just before we moved it, because it was quite dry. And one of my other sisters said, oh, you really need to put some water in it. Rightly so, it was far too dry. So I'm going to tip all this out, redo it all. I've got to find a place to put it. I'm not sure where I'm going to put it at the moment, so I've got to find a space for it, and then I'm going to keep you updated on how I get on with this and see if we can produce some lovely compost. It's got most of the things, it's got the essential things with it that we need, and it's got the thermometers, one for the top and one to go inside. It's got the straps to hold the bottom door on, which is this one where you take the compost out from that end. It's got the lid to go on here, it's got the base. So I'm going to set it all up and I'll show you how I get on with it. So fingers crossed that we can get this all working as it should do. So I've emptied it all out and given it a good clean, a good wash down. Now I've got in the bucket of water here, I've still got the straps. I'm not going to put my hands in there because I haven't got my gloves on, but I'm giving the straps a good soak because they need a good old clean. And the straps are what go around here to hold this all tight. This is the door that you can take off to get the compost out. So this is the little hatch, so you just pull that off, and that's where you shovel out the compost. So I'll give you a quick rundown of what it is. So obviously this is an insulated door, which will be held on. I mean, it holds in place anyway nicely, but the straps just keep it all nice and secure, keep it all, keep the heat in. Now this is the little thing at the bottom that's got all holes in it. You can see the holes go right through there, and that is where the leachate comes down, and you can take this off and it drains out of here. This is just the water where I've washed it all down. So you can capture that and use that as fertilizer, and you dilute it to use it. So that's really handy. Doesn't matter which way this goes on, which way round, as long as it goes that way up. And that just sits snugly in there. This is the plinth. This is an added extra that you buy extra to the hot box, and it just lifts it off the ground, makes it easier to get to that little runaway for the leachate. Now the top part, as you can see, if I open the lid, you can't have it right up against the wall. So I do need to pull it out a little bit, but I just wanted to show you that before I did it. So probably about there. And that's what it all looks like inside. So I've given it a good old clean. Now when we first start it off, we fill it up to about this line, which is halfway, and I'm going to put some little twigs and dry brackeny stuff in the bottom first, just so I don't just put wet stuff, like cloggy stuff that will clog up those holes, because those holes was proper clogged up. So I've poked them all out, got all the muck and everything out of there, give it a good spray down. So it should all work nicely now. Now in here is a charcoal filter, so all the smells are contained. And there's the thermometer for the top of the box, and this is a little vent. So if it starts to get a little bit hot, you can open this up, get airflow. It needs lots of airflow, so that all helps the airflow. Now I think that's about it that I need to show you of this. Oh no, the reason I'm a foster parent to this is because I'm going to do my best to get it all up and running and make some lovely, beautiful compost. And then I'm going to give it back to my sister, explain to her how I've done it all, and hopefully she'll be able to continue using it and making her own compost. So my next step is to get some stuff in there so it can start working. So it's the next day, because I ran out of time yesterday, and I've got all the bits and pieces around to put in. I've got some twigs cut up to go in the bottom so I don't block those holes up for that leachate to run out of. I've got some more in here. These are all hedge trimmings that can all be cut up. I've got some of the old rotted wood chip in there. I've got shredded newspaper in here, and I've got torn up cardboard in there. I've got some grass cuttings. I've got some of the compost, well, it's not compost, some of the stuff taken out of my other compost heap. So now it's just a case of getting it in there, mixing it all up and layering it. Now the one thing I didn't have was the hook that you mix it with. So that's all right. I should just mix it in these tubs and the wheelbarrow and just shovel it in. I'll get myself made a hook of some sort so I can mix it. Now the leachate, I didn't explain what the leachate was, I realised last night. That comes out of that bottom hole there. That's just all the liquids that come out of all the wet compost all the stuff that goes in the wet, all the peelings and the grass and anything that's wet that gives off all that moisture, all comes out the bottom. So that's what the leachate is. So I'm just going to start by putting those dry twigs in the bottom. So that's what the thermometer's on at the moment. It's on just under 20 degrees, and we want to get it up in the green range, which is between 40 and 60. So this is not in the sun, this is actually in the shade at the moment, but it actually doesn't matter. You can stand it in the shade, or there's no particular place you need to stand these hot bins. It can be either in the shade or the full sun, it doesn't matter. It apparently makes no difference. So in goes those twigs, just to cover the bottom. Just going to move them around to cover the bottom part. Only need a very thin covering. So what I'm putting in next is some of this that came out of the composter that my sister had. I'm just making sure there's no bits that are too big or anything that shouldn't be in there as I go. Taking out these bigger pieces of wood like this. These shoots are fine because it will get hot. That's going to kill all those off. Just breaking it up. I don't want any big clumps in there. And now, because that was quite wet, I'm just going to put some of this torn up corrugated cardboard, just a thin layer really, just a scattering, because at this stage I'm not mixing this stuff all together. I'm just putting some layers because I'm doing just thin layers really, and I'm going to put some shredded up newspaper. We don't have newspapers, so I get people to save these for me, because I use it for my ordinary compost bin anyway. Then I've got my grass cuttings, and I'm going to do a layer of that, but a very thin layer, just a scattering. I'm really breaking it up and not dropping it in clumps at all. So a very thin layer, just so it covers it all. Now I'm putting in some of the stuff that I had in my own compost heap, and I'm just putting a thin layer of that. So everything is in thin layers at the moment. So that's where we're up to at the moment, and our aim for the minimum amount to put in it to get it started is up to this line here, and that is where the door comes to. So the top of the door there, that will just get it started. That's the minimum we want to be aiming for, but I am going to be putting more than that in. I'm going to keep filling it just to get it going, and then as it sinks down, put more in on the top. So my next job is I'm going to be mixing it in the barrow. So I'm not going to be doing layers anymore. I'm going to mix everything together in the barrow. I've got my shredded up newspaper, my torn up corrugated cardboard, I've got my twigs over there that can be cut up, and my grass, tub of grass down there, and I shall be adding more peelings and everything as we get it from the kitchen. So my next job is to get it in the barrow and give it all a good mix. So that's a really good mix now. I don't want to be putting too much grass in one go, because it does clump together and it'll go all slimy, and the last thing we want is layers of grass that have compacted and gone all horrible. So I'm going to get all this dumped in there now and then see how we're doing. So that's where we're up to at the moment, and as you can see, we haven't got to the line yet, but I've run out of shredded paper. So my next job is to shred some more paper. I have got some more torn up cardboard, but I will be doing more of that. So my next job is to shred some paper, but for now I'm going to just clean these edges down, make sure there's nothing that's going to spoil that seal, because we want to start it getting hot. So I'm going to put the lid down and it's going to start working. Even though it's not quite full enough, I will be getting more in there. So that's where we're up to. You can see the thermometer's gone down a bit because I've had the lid open. So it was already warm in there, although there was nothing in it. So it's gone down to about 15 degrees. So we're getting it right up here into the green. Right, because of the great British weather, this is take 45 because it keeps raining. I keep getting all this stuff out and it keeps raining, so Neil and I have been putting these back inside and bringing it out. So this is like a recipe, because I've got all this stuff and I'm going to take you through what I've got and why. So first things first, down here in there is a metal gauze, and that's where the air goes in, and then to the top, and this is where the air comes out, and it lets any vapours out, so any of the moisture that doesn't want inside can come out the top. So that needs to be open just a little bit like this, about 2-3 millimeters, and that helps with the airflow. So I've got my straps on around the front door, so that's not going to come off as it fills up. So this is very much like a recipe, and as an avid cook, it's right up my street. So we've got the wood chip, and this is to help with the airflow. Now this is actually quite wet. This is straight out of the bag. It was supposed to be decorative wood chip. It's really quite wet, but that's okay because we've got something that will counteract the wetness, but this will help with the airflow. We've got the grass, which you've already seen, and we've got lots of peelings and apples, mostly apples in there, because if you don't have a lot of kitchen waste, ask your friends and neighbours and you'll be quite surprised, I'm sure, like I was, how much you can actually get off other people. So a friend of ours had loads of apples in their shed, and there was the fallen apples from last year, and she was storing them and hoping that she would be able to use them, and didn't. So we've got quite a lot of the fallen apples. There was no good to use, but are perfect for the compost bin, and I've got more that I can cut up. So this is what's all going to break down, and this will all make all the moisture, the grass as well. So we need the counteract, which is the paper. Now I've got office paper, which is just normal paper, shredded. I've been tearing out old pages of notebooks. I've got tons of notebooks, like I'm sure most of us have, around the house. That's got all bits and pieces that I've written in and needed to be sorted out. So it's helping me out there because I'm sorting my notebooks out. So this is the first choice, because I've been reading up on all this. This is the first choice for the paper, is the office paper, and it can be old envelopes, old receipts, anything like that, as long as you take any plastic windows out of the envelopes. So the second best is cardboard, and this is quite a dedication to this, because this took quite a while to cut all this cardboard up like this, but I wanted to cut it up really small because it's better if it's cut up smaller. And then the third choice is the shredded newspaper. So all really good stuff in order of preference. So the office paper, then the cardboard, and then the shredded newspaper. And then this is the old stuff, some of the old stuff that came out, and that will all help break it all down. Now this stuff will also help with the bulking agent and help with the aeration, and this is the hedge trimmings, which was like this, and Neil, bless his heart, has helped me, and he put it all on the floor and went over it with a lawnmower, and it created beautiful, oh look at that, it's just precious, isn't it, that? Now that would work really well as a mulch on its own, but that's going in the compost. That will all help with the aeration. So that's, I think I've done all of everything that I'm going to be putting in it right now. So I've got my wheelbarrow, so my next job is to start mixing all of these. So aeration with the wood chip to create airflow, and the grass and all the peelings and the fruit and veg, that will all help break everything down. This is the precious stuff. It all has its place, and it is all vital to make this hot bin work. Because I've watched tons and tons of videos, and so many people are having problems getting these to work properly. Now I'm not expecting it to make compost like you'd buy a bag of compost from the garden centre, because it hasn't been breaking down that quick from the videos that I've seen, but it does create some really lovely compost that is very usable. So I'm going to start mixing. So I think this is a really good mix now. It's a mix of everything that I've got, and all the paper and the cardboard will stop it from just getting all wet and soggy. Now the hot box does take cooked food, and it takes like fish and chicken and meats and raw meats, but not until it's up to temperature. I would not put any of those sort of cooked foods in the hot bin until it's reached its temperature between 40 and 60 degrees. So until then it'll just be all the peelings and the fruit and the veg trimmings and all that sort of stuff. And now I'm going to get this into the hot bin and see where it comes up to, see if I need to mix any more. So that's that barrel load all used. I've still got plenty of ingredients to use, and I'm going to need them. This is where we've got to so far. So I've still got quite a long way to go. So it does hold quite a lot. I mean, it's 200 litres, so that is a lot, isn't it? But I've still got some more to go. So I'll get another lot made up exactly the same, and then I'll show you where I'm at. So there's my second barrel full ready of that particular mix. I've put a bit of bark on there just for good measure. I've used up all my grass and all my veg and fruit mix. I'm just going to put a little bit of this shredded up newspaper in here for good measure. As you can see, I've cut the fruit and the veg up really quite small, And this is one of the crucial things of getting this up and running. The fruit and veg and the grass and all the green stuff is really what's going to get this up to temperature. So I wanted it to all start working as quickly as possible, and the recommended is to cut it up small. And I remember from my dim and distant school days of how the fastest reactor is a powder, because it's got the greatest surface area. Now obviously I'm not going to cut all this up into a powder, but I cut it up really small to give it the best surface area, the biggest surface area that I could. So that is all going to help it break down really fast. So now I'm just going to dump it all into the hot bin. So that's it, as much as I've got, that's all in there. There's still a little bit of room at the top. Now I've got one last thing to do, and that is to put this thermometer in there, right in the middle, so I can just keep my eye on it. Now you don't have to do all that I've done as quick as I've done. This has been a lot of work filling this. It's a real commitment, but this will give it a really good start. And if this doesn't work, if this doesn't make compost, I don't know what is going to, because I've followed all the tips and tricks that I've found online and on the Hotbin website. They've got loads of advice on there, so I've really got high hopes. If this doesn't work, I don't know what will work. So 30 to 90 days should give us some nice compost out the bottom there. Now I think I've just got that finished in time, because it is starting to rain again. It's come over completely black. So I'm going to leave this video here. I will let you know how I get on with this. Fingers crossed that this is going to work. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope it was helpful. I know it was a long one, and I'm sorry, but I had to get everything explained to you, because I really want these to start working, because so many people are having problems with them, and I think this is going to work. Well, I have got some very exciting news about the hot bin. It's up to temperature, and it's only Monday lunchtime. Now when I did the last video and I filled it for the first time, tried to get it all working, I finished it about 4:30ish on Friday, and now it's Monday at 12:30. So that is only Saturday, Sunday and half a Monday. So 3 days, you can say 3 days maximum, and it's up to temperature, and it's got steam and everything. I am so excited. Now I haven't done anything else to it, haven't put anything else in it at all. Now they do say you fill it, do what you got to do, put the lid on and leave it. Well, I have checked it, but only once a day, but I have been checking it, and it has been building up gradually, and it's building up quite nicely. So in 2.5 days it's up to temperature, and it's got steam. I am so excited. So let me show you inside. So this is the temperature on the top of the hot bin, on the top thermometer, and it's nearly, but just not quite, in the green. So it's about just under 40, but not quite in the green. But look at this, look. Oh, excited. We've got steam. Oh, I think you can see that actually. we've got actual steam. And look at that. How exciting is that? That is 40, well, just under 50, about 47 maybe degrees. Now that is exciting. And I haven't done anything else to it. And you can see it's dropped down quite a bit. So it's all working as it should. I've still got to find something to give it a good mix with, because I haven't got the big prongy thing that you mix it with. So I'm going to find something. I'll make something to mix it all up. But let's get that lid back on. So after just 2.5 days, it's up to temperature. I am so happy. So I'm going to find something to give it a good mix, to give it a stir, turn it all over a bit. I'm going to start putting more of the composting materials in there, just more of the same of what I've already done, and see how we get on with that. So it is working. I've got it working in just 2.5 days. So that is amazing. So if you want to follow along, see how I get on with this, and see if I can actually get some great compost out of this, do click the subscribe button, click the like button and a little bell notification so you get notified when we bring out more videos. And hopefully I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.